I am Ray, and the secret to life is in the present moment, because life can only be experienced in the present moment. So the more you stray from this moment now, the less you are truly living. The more you stray from life, the closer you get to death. And with death comes suffering, problems, darkness. So don't go there. And you see, the main causes of us being unable to be present is our own mind. You see, when we ruminate upon the past, of our regrets, of what we have done, we ruin our present moment now. When we worry about the fears of the future, imaginary evils of what might happen, we ruin the present moment now. And when we judge ourselves, when we judge our current life experiences, we ruin our present moment now. But the present moment is all there is. So when the present moment is ruined by our own thoughts, our whole life is ruined. And the quality of your life is determined by how often you stray from the present moment. What you will find is that people who are always thinking all the time, who are always stuck in the past or worrying, they are the most miserable people on the planet. They are always suffering because they are almost never present. You see, much of the spiritual teachings, they guide us to being present through many different ways. For instance, in the realization of your true nature, not as this ego mind, this body, but as the divine, as the self. You stop feeding all of your mind drama because you realize that, okay, wait a minute, it's not me. I have been believing myself to be this character, and so I continue to fuel my mind activity with beliefs, with stories, with all of these different identities of who I believe I am. And we reinforce these things with our belief, with our attention, with our energy. And this is why we think about the past, the future, and we are judging our experiences. We live in a world of separation, meaning we are a unique individual living in a world among other unique individuals. And as a person, we have an infinite array of different desires, different things we want to avoid, and a million different attachments to things. And these attachments create suffering. Because when reality doesn't match our expectations, our desires, we resist the flow of life. And in this resistance, there is suffering. But when you embark on the spiritual journey, and when you awaken to the true nature of what you are, you stop living from this place of identity, and you start living from a place of pure presence. It doesn't mean your ego magically goes away. It just means you stop feeding it. You stop entertaining the idea that your ego is you. And so what happens is that as the attachments begin falling away because you have taken away your identity, and therefore the fuel source to these things, as the attachments fall away, you become lighter and lighter and lighter, and there are less and less things in your mind pulling you out of the present moment. But for most people, they have so much mind activity, they're always getting pulled in all of these different directions. And so they never experience any peace. Only temporary glimpses of peace, happiness, and love when the mind activity temporarily stops. And what you find is that peace, for instance, is the default state. But because of all of our mind activity, we feel that we are never at peace. Peace is found in this present moment now. And when we are separated from the present moment, we are no longer in peace. Good news is that the present moment is always here. It is the eternal now, which means that you always have access to peace, to love, to joy, to happiness. And it is in our ignorance of this fact that we suffer. It is the ignorance of our true nature that we suffer. And so because we identify with this limited form of consciousness, that is the ego, or the body, or the mind, we are perpetually separated from the source of all love, all peace, all joy that is experienced in this present moment now. And the more you can remain in this present moment, the more joy, love, and peace you will experience on a daily basis. The more you will enter into harmony with the flow of life, And so too your entire existence will enter into harmony. And all of your problems will no longer bother you in the same way, because you will be free. There are no problems in this present moment. If you pay attention the next time you have a problem, develop the power of discernment by realizing that you are not suffering your experiences, you are suffering your own thoughts. You are suffering a story inside of your head, not the actual truth. And this is the great human affliction, that we suffer our own minds. Never do we suffer the actuality. I mean, unless you get eaten by a bear, okay, I'll give you some leniency. But for the most part, all suffering is mind created. And our feelings of resistance, or feelings of suffering or frustration, they occur precisely because we have been removed from the present moment, into the past, into the future, into the mind realm. We judge our experiences and say, no, I do not want life to be this way. But newsflash, life will never be exactly the way your mind wants it to be. And this is a good thing, because if your mind was truly in charge, the world, well, it wouldn't be a very good place. You can see the damage that the mind causes through its selfishness, harvesting the planet for its resources, harvesting human lives for their energy. And so the more we allow our mind to just drag us along all over the place, the more chaos and destruction we allow into our lives. But when we surrender our mind to the self, to the higher power which all people call God, we are led into harmony, and we are not led astray. And in this present moment is a state of no mind that many have called the flow state. And it is a flow state because you are in complete non-resistance. And every time, from your own experience, you may find that when you are in a flow state, you are at your absolute best. Every one of your most beautiful experiences in this life will occur when you are deeply present. Take for one example, personally, I like to watch TV when I eat dinner. But because our mind can only focus on one thing at a time, when you're focused on the screen, you are not focused on the flavor of the food. And so you kind of just eat and then it's gone, and then that's it. But when you are completely focused on eating the food, you can taste every single flavor with every bite. And it becomes a much more immersive experience. So too, when we live life in a single pointed fashion, meaning we're not multitasking, we're being mindful of this present moment now, life comes alive. The magic that you feel that you have lost returns. That magic that we all once had in childhood, because children are always in the present moment. Their brains are not developed enough to always be worrying about nonsense. As our brains evolve, as we get older, the mind grows stronger, and it creates a strong sense of separation from this present moment. And although this gives us the ability to experience life from a place of individual autonomy, it also creates massive amounts of suffering, because the quality of your life from the mind perspective is all about how well you are able to point your mind. You can point your mind in a negative direction, you can point your mind in a positive direction, or you can point your mind on this present moment now. And so be conscious of where you allow your attention to go. Remain grounded in the present moment and allow your attention to ruminate on all that which is good. And you will experience great peace, great love, great joy, and gratitude for your daily experiences. But if you are perpetually pulled out of the present moment, focusing on negativity of the past, of the future, of your current experiences, well, that is the perfect recipe to live a miserable life. I am Ray. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Much peace and many blessings.